In this video, I'm going to show you 5 places you can use right now to find a top-notch overseas freelancer to help scale your business, whether you're an agency owner or entrepreneur. We'll also talk about why you wouldn't want to use these sites. So finding, hiring, and keeping good people is tough enough, but there's an added element of uncertainty when hiring a freelancer or hiring overseas. What if they don't work out? How can I trust them? How do I know if they even have the skill set to do the job? Well, the truth is you can eliminate a lot of headache and a lot of this uncertainty up front just by having a recruiting process that's dialed in. And that starts with choosing the right platform. So the first step before you even begin to think about where to look is to get clear on what you need. What's your goal? Are you looking to hire a permanent team member, someone that's full-time in your business and will be part of your effort to grow? Or do you have a project coming up for a client that just needs a certain expertise? Or are you looking for a quick, technical, or tedious task to be done as soon as possible? A task that's just a one-time thing. So once you know what your goal is, the next step is to know what you're looking for. Do you need someone that is more than just an order taker or a yes man? In other words, are you looking for someone that can think on their own and will be able to figure out how to achieve a goal that's given to them? Do you need to be able to go to this person and say, hey, this is the problem we need to solve. I don't know how you're gonna do it, but I need you to figure out the way there. Or is this someone that just needs to follow your directions step by step? Someone you're gonna give a bunch of SOPs to. Or more likely, especially if it's a quick task one time, is it someone that needs to have knowledge you necessarily don't, such as web development or SEO? Do they need to just be able to make a quick change on the back end of your site? So now that you have those two things established, knowing what your goal is and what kind of hire you're looking for, we can pick the platform. So each platform we're going to talk about today attracts a different type of person. So knowing the pros and cons of each is not only going to help increase the chances that you find what you're looking for, but it'll also help you navigate the nuances of each one. So the first and often most well-known sources for outsourced talent are, of course, Fiverr and Upwork. So let's look at Fiverr first. So what are the pros? For one, you can find talent very quickly. There are also reviews from other employers that have worked with this person before, and they're prominently displayed on each profile. In addition, you're likely to find very cheap rates on this platform. More on that one later. And lastly, you'll find a wide variety of skill sets and lots of options. So on the flip side, all communication and payment has to take place on Fiverr's platform. The cost of added workflow friction can be really high, especially if you keep forgetting to check the platform for revisions or communication, or your team doesn't have access to the account. Notifications also come to your inbox, which I'm never a big fan of because email alone creates a huge rabbit hole that zaps your time. So also there's lots of options, not always a good thing. If I go search for a graphic designer right now on Fiverr.com, I turn up over 14,000 services. So searching through those and trying to determine which one is right for you is a full-time job in and of itself. So the downside of cheap rates on this platform leads to a churn and burn workflow and quality, right? They want to get through your project as quickly as possible so that they can pick up the next one, because the more projects they do, obviously the more money they make. Low rates also mean that they will charge you extra for every single revision or change or anything that's not included in the original project description. Thought of a last minute change or addition? Too bad, you likely will be charged additionally for that. So depending on the freelancer, they likely won't care about you or your company as they don't have a long-term commitment with you. This could also mean they don't care so much about the quality of work that they're providing beyond just getting a good review. So this doesn't mean that you can't find good talent on Fiverr. It's just a lot harder, like finding a needle in a haystack. So when should you use Fiverr? When you need something done quickly that's technical or fairly simple, such as a quick website change, quick design, lead scraping, data entry, voiceovers, music, etc. But it's not so great for repeat business, creative projects, or especially bigger projects with several components. So what's the difference between Fiverr and Upwork? Upwork is generally going to have more skilled contractors that are looking for everything from part-time, per project, or ongoing full-time work. And like Fiverr, you can find tons of options for any given skill set, even including more sophisticated competencies like legal work. So what are the pros? For one, you can find long-term, more invested talent here. Although like anything, it just depends on who you hire. The platform itself does give a slightly more robust view of this freelancer's previous work, including a portfolio, client testimonials, and ratings. You can filter by skill set, such as novice or expert, and you can set the price range you're willing to pay, either hourly or per project, and freelancers can actually bid on it, So you're likely to get a more competitive rate, whereas there's not so much room to negotiate on Fiverr, even though Fiverr is typically going to be much cheaper to begin with. Upwork also has a built-in time tracking software that makes managing your freelancer and paying them pretty easy without the need of additional software subscriptions or fees. So what are the cons of Upwork? Well, the biggest one is the fees. Upwork takes a huge chunk from the freelancer, so they often will roll this over to you in the form of higher prices. And also, similar to Fiverr, if you post for an opening, you'll get tons of responses, so sorting through them can take a lot of time. All communication has to go through Upwork, and it's not a very user-friendly workflow. I've found in the past that it doesn't integrate well into whatever systems and processes I already have in place. This is really a deal breaker if you have a long-term relationship you're looking for, because the hassle of going back and forth to the Upwork platform and not having additional means of communication, at least not ones that are supported by Upwork's terms of service, make working relationships pretty difficult and slow. Upwork also charges you a pretty significant chunk of the contract if you wanted to, say, move your relationship off of the platform and hire that person on your own. So depending on how you set your project up, you could still be dealing with a churn and burn mentality, especially if it's a smaller project. And of course, anytime you pay hourly or per project, you risk running up rates for revisions, especially if you end up needing more than you thought, or of the freelancer taking advantage of that and trying to bulk up their hours. So beyond Fiverr and Upwork or other similar freelancing platforms, what options do we have? I often talk about the benefits of hiring from the Philippines, and while that's not the only place you can find great talent, it is a great place to start, especially if you're new to outsourcing. So the Filipino government has even started pouring into resources for its citizens to include incorporating certain classes at local universities to help their citizens build skill sets that are in high demand in the US and other countries. So for this reason, the next 3 platforms will focus mainly on outsourcing to the Philippines. These are also geared more towards a longer-term relationship and might not be worth the efforts if you have a one-time task or project. The first 2 are free options, and while you can find a diamond in the rough, you'll need to make sure you have some solid vetting in place, as there will also be plenty of unqualified or less experienced applicants. This can work to your advantage though if you're looking for someone that you're gonna just plug into your existing processes, as you can find someone that doesn't have the training necessarily, but they have a great attitude and they're a quick learner, and you can train them up for less. One of these options is Craigslist, and since you're not hiring locally, you don't run the risk of finding a crazy that shows up at your door. With a well-structured recruiting process, you can actually make this process much easier and find a hidden gem. You can post your job under Craigslist Manila or any other location you want to target. So, what are the pros? You will get lots of responses to your job post. I found sometimes more than the other platforms. And this is largely due to the fact that it's an open platform and anyone can post a job or respond. More on that in a bit. With Craigslist, you can target the specific geographic area you're looking to hire from, which is beneficial if you're looking to stay in a certain area. And just like the other platforms, you'll get a wide variety of skill sets and it's completely free to use. So what are the cons? Well, for one, there's zero vetting done by the platform. So any Joe Schmo can apply to your post and you have no idea if their identity is actually verified or if they're a convicted felon or even if they're a real person. And because of this, you'll likely receive lots, actually mostly, unqualified or not serious talent. Plus, they don't have a profile on the site with verified reviews or testimonials like the other platforms. And I haven't heard of this firsthand, but you do have to do your homework, as it's a lot easier for scammers to get a hold of you here since there is no vetting internally on the platform. A more controlled version of Craigslist has been created though with the invention of Facebook groups, which have really taken the space that Craigslist used to occupy or newspaper classifieds. So groups are actually my preferred method over Craigslist because they solve a lot of the issues I mentioned above and they function similarly. So what are the pros of Facebook groups? Well, usually the group admin does the vetting before people are allowed to join the group, so it's not open to just anybody. And then depending on the group itself and its structure, a lot of times you'll find that people in the group are already engaged and they're looking for work actively. So you'll get responses and interest pretty quickly. And because people are also already spending their time on social media, this helps with response time. And then of course, it's connected to their Facebook page. So although it's not a guarantee, you do have some form of identity verification that this is actually a real person, and you can get a sense of who they truly are by looking at their Facebook page. And then lastly, you can find groups for specific skill sets or locations. So I could search Facebook for Filipino remote jobs if I'm looking to hire from the Philippines, or I can even search for industry or type of jobs such as graphic designers. So what are the cons of Facebook groups? Well, similar to Craigslist, you can get plenty of unqualified or unserious applicants that you then have to go sort through to find the right people. And then there's also a lot of variance in the groups themselves and the quality. So finding the right groups can take some trial and error. So this all brings me to my personal favorite platform. I've used this to build up my agency's team and I have had great experiences here. And while I've used all of the platforms listed here to some degree or another, all for different reasons, OnlineJobs is by far my favorite and most trusted resource, particularly when I'm focused on building a lasting team. So what are the pros? Well, first, the talent here is highly vetted and identity verified by OnlineJobs. They have to show proof of residency and identity to obtain a higher identity score and even to be admitted onto the platform to begin with. So this means that you or I, if we live in the States, couldn't just go apply to be an employee on the site and say spam employers. And it is one of the most trusted job boards in the Philippines. So because of that, it has a large and growing candidate pool. This, combined with the third-party vetting I just mentioned, means that you are likely to get higher quality applicants and more of them. It's a win-win. It's also really easy to use and integrate into an existing workflow that you might already have in place because you control everything from how you communicate, how you pay them, the contract, all of that. And you can even set up automations in your recruiting process so that you can move applications out of your inbox and not have to check the platform for responses. So this is really like the Indeed or ZipRecruiter version for outsourcing. And with it, you can truly build a powerhouse team if that's your goal. If you're looking for long-term, full or part-time work, this is definitely the place. So what's the downside? Well, like anything else we've talked about today, you will get lots of applicants. And in addition, it's not free to use. And currently at the time of this video, I think it's $69 a month just to be able to contact the applicants. But you can cancel it as you're not using it. It is saturated with employers, so you have to stand out and refresh your job posts often. So many opportunities also means that candidates often just spam out applications without actually looking at your post, and they just copy and paste their responses to you. So there you have it, 5 platforms to find talent to scale your business. And then as you build, the absolute best place to find great additions to add to your team, just like your clients, are team referrals. So as you begin to build a team that you trust, tap into their network for your next hires. And then think about creating a referral incentive program. So if they refer a new hire that stays with you for at least 90 days, they get a bonus for doing so. So now you know how to figure out which platform is best to find freelancers, but do you know what to do when you hire them? Or how to interview and test them before hiring? Or how you can move from employee to CEO in your business with that team? So make sure to check out my free training where I show you step by step how we leverage overseas talent to scale our agency to 6 figures, all while working only a few hours a week, and how you can do the same at get.upperhandcreative.com/free-training. I'll link to it down below. If you got anything from this video, leave a comment and let me know what your takeaway was or what your favorite platform is, and I'll see you on the next one.